Hi, I'm Charlene Favorite, the Fascinating Wife, bringing peace into your home, love into your relationships, and joy into your hearts. Today, I will be going over effective tips and tricks for meal planning that work for my family. If this doesn't work for your family, I do hope to at least inspire you to create your own meal planning system so that it goes with your schedule and your family's schedule. Before I begin, I do want to say that you are the head nutritionist for your family. Your family will only eat what you cook and what you provide for them as leeway to eat. This is a big role and a big task, but it's nothing that the domestic goddess is not prepared for. So this video is going to go along with your domestic goddess journey and creating your routine, morning, afternoon, and evening routines so that you can effectively meal plan on days that you choose to. And that leads me to my first tip. Please choose a day that you are going to be able to effectively meal plan. My days are Tuesdays because on Tuesdays it's my planning day. I plan everything on Tuesdays. Family activities, the clothes for the week that I would wear, my meal planning, things that I need to pick up from the store, everything is being planned on that day. On Thursday is my errand day. That is when I go out and actually do things that I need to get, whether I'm going to the store really quick. Grocery shopping is usually on that day as well, but anything that I need to do outside of the home that I have planned for Tuesday is happening on Thursday for me. So that is the system that works for me. Because I do weekly meal planning, I am planning from Friday to Friday. Thursday is still a day that I have planned effectively for meals. So usually, since I know I'll be at the grocery store most of the day on Thursday, I already have that meal ready and made to go because I've made it during breakfast time. So that is a way that I get around with not being too concerned with the meal for Thursday night. Do something like that that works for you. Again, Friday to Friday is how I plan my meals, and I'll be going over that in a few minutes. The next tip that I recommend is to look at your calendar's days and see what days you have blocked off for activity days. Let's say you are a mother and you know that your children have some type of activity outside of the home throughout the week. Let's say Friday is game day for you and your family. Make sure that you take that into consideration when you're doing your meal plan. Make sure that you take all of the days that you do not cook into consideration. If you know on Sundays you don't cook, make sure that you have that planned out so that you're not spending too much time trying to find something for Sundays when you know you're not going to cook on Sundays. And that is a really good and effective way to save money too. Okay. First thing that I want to show you is how to set up your plan, your nights. I go by themes. So each day I have themes that I rely on. I know I'm shuffling through papers, but from Monday, for example, is Caribbean Day or Caribbean Night. This is for my dinner themes. Tuesday is a raw dish. Maybe that means like a smoothie bowl that I have along with some other things, but the dish is completely raw, even if I have dehydrated a dish to prepare for that day. Wednesday is usually an African night. Thursday is Latin night. Friday is homemade pizza. Saturday is Italian. And Sunday is usually a feast day for me, which almost always means that it's a Southern meal or an old meal that is American based. So these are the things that work for my family. I encourage you to have nightly themes for your days so that it can allow you to prepare a little bit more effectively. Your themes can look way different from mine, but make sure the themes is something that you can commit to and something that your family would love. Because I am the head nutritionist for my family, I am picking the dishes that I know that they would like and dishes that I know are going to provide them with as much nutrition as possible. I do believe in balancing things. So even though this is just the things for the dinner time, I still effectively meal plan for breakfast, lunch, and snacks, which is something that I would get into also. After you have created things for yourself, make sure you take into consideration any dietary restrictions of your family members. Some family members rely on gluten-free, others are all raw vegans, others are vegans, others are vegetarians, others are pescatarian, others are following keto diets or paleo diets. So make sure that you have your diet consideration in mind, even if that means a family member has a specific dietary need and concern. That is something that I do. For example, my family is all plant-based, and even though we are plant-based, I still like to have a lot of fun with the recipes, but I do like to make sure that most of my recipes are gluten-free for my children. Okay, so this is just something that I personally want to do and spend time in doing, and making sure I add that extra love and care, having the diet restrictions in consideration when I do meal planning. A lot of people do ask their family members what they like the most for meals, and that's something that I don't do because I am the head nutritionist of my family. I feel like I know what they need best in order to balance out their day. So, for example, if their breakfast is really heavy with pancakes or fruit on the side, or even parfait in the morning for breakfast, I know that lunch is going to be a little bit lighter and not as dense. And then for dinner, it can be a mix of the two. So as long as you're balancing the nutrition for your family, that is going the extra step of being a fascinating wife to your family. Your family does deserve it. This is their health. And as you are responsible for their health and what you put on the table, it just brings so much joy to know that you are feeding them well. Trust me, you will get a joy from doing that. The next thing that I rely on is my recipe binder for creating meals for my meal plan. So here's my recipe binder. It's nothing fancy. It says recipe binder at the top, and I usually put a good amount of recipes in here, as you see. It's pretty stacked. The recipes that I have in here go from breakfast, lunch, dinner, beverages, desserts, and even appetizers. And that is another way of doing the extra, or going the extra mile when you are doing meal planning. Most people, excuse me, like I mentioned, most people do the breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I, on the other hand, do breakfast, lunch, dinner, which includes an appetizer, dessert, and snacks. I do heavily believe in having a 3-course meal for dinner. It's just better for me. It just adds that personal touch of being fascinating. It just adds that personal care that I like to add when I am creating the dishes, because I have everyone in mind. And so we'll talk a little bit about that in more videos to come. But in my recipe book, I have different breakdowns of what I like to offer. It is filled with recipes that I have picked from Pinterest, and I have printed it out, and I have made one way or another, and my family liked it. So when I am filling in for my meal plan, I do pull from here, the recipe book. I also love cookbooks. I'm not going to show you all of the cookbooks that I have, but I have a few that I like to rely on. Oh, by the way, I get these books from the library. They have like a section in my local library where books are about 50 cents, sometimes even $1, because no one wants it. So that's where I go to get my cookbooks. Here's one cookbook that I have that I really rely on for my Latin nights. Here's another one, Vegan Without Borders. We are plant-based, and so that's just a dietary restriction that I have for my family. If that's not what you have for your family, don't sweat it. Just continue on with a cookbook that's good for you. But this one allows for me to have dishes from all over the world. It's the recipes from India, the Americas, Europe, all over any place you can think of. I got this complete book of sauces, which I really use to create different types of sauces. Okay, so Like there's walnut sauces in here. This book is really thick. It's like 300 pages of just sauces, but it allows me to um, just have a different dish every night. It's really easy to make a different dish every night when I have sauces to go with it. My family loves sauces. I also have some bakery books that I love to rely on, and this is how I'm able to pair my desserts effectively. Sometimes in the books they have recipes for bread, which is how I make my own breads too. So I just rely on old books to teach me. And then lastly, a book I'll share is an Indian vegetarian cuisine book. I love books like this because it allows me to look at the plating that they do to serve the food. So this is another part of going that extra mile when you are making the meal plan for your family. Have in mind how you're going to plate the food. Even if it's something as simple as a smoothie, the smoothie shouldn't look like, just the smoothie in a cup. It should look a little bit more alive. Maybe you have the fruits on the rim of the cup. Maybe you have dipped the rim of the cup in maybe water, and then have maybe dipped it in sugar so that there's like sugar crust on the top. Maybe add a little lime into it, maybe a straw to make it look really pretty. But plating or visualization is just as important as eating. You also eat with your eyes. And so just make sure that you are appealing to the senses when you are making a dish. Make sure that the dish smells wonderful. Make sure that the colors on your plate are amazingly put together into a structure that's easy for the family to look at. So if it's spaghetti and meatballs for you, don't just slap on the spaghetti to the plate. Make it look pretty. Maybe spiral the spaghetti onto the plate. Maybe add the meatball on top, maybe just two instead of a whole bunch of meatballs together. So these are just little techniques on how to make your meal planning and your visualization just look better. Just go the extra mile because it will pay off later. I'm going to show you how I section off my grocery list. I've gone through where to look for recipes. You can look on Pinterest. There's a lot of different bloggers who have different blogging sites. So even if that means it's YouTube and YouTube connects you to a blog where you can just print out the recipe from there, that's still really effective, and you can add it to your recipe binder. The recipe binder doesn't have to take too much of your time, but as you go through what you know you like to consume, it's an easy way to just fill it in. So this is how I section off my grocery list, and I do this before I begin meal planning. I have produce, frozen foods, dry goods, and non-food items. And then on the back, I do alternatives like the meat replacements or the dairy replacements, and then other items that I am going to get from the store that don't have anything to do with food. Maybe we're just low on toilet tissue or toilet paper or napkins or something like that. I'll just put there on that list. So this is how my grocery list looks. Next to it, I hear how my actual meal plan is going to look. These are rough drafts, which is why it's on just loose leaf paper. I have breakfast, lunch, dinner. Dinner one is the appetizer because I do believe in having 3-course dinner meals. So the appetizer is always number one, and then number two is the main dish, and dessert goes with the dinner. Or I'll put it like this, how you see here, breakfast, lunch, dinner one, dinner two, which just means appetizer and main dish. And then the snacks is something that we'll have when we're out and about, like when I'm out and about with the kids, or if they're hungry after dinner. So that's how it looks for me. That's how I section off my grocery list, and that's how I also section off my actual meal planning list. The next thing that I recommend for you to do is start filling in based on what you know your family likes. I did the first one here. Since I meal plan Friday to Friday, I did the first one here for you. For breakfast, it's usually light. For breakfast for this Friday, I'll be doing just a smoothie. Again, it doesn't mean that I just put the smoothie in the cup. It just means that I have a nice glass that's presentable, maybe putting a little coconut sugar on the rim of the smoothie, adding maybe a lime to it, and then having that particular smoothie that I'd like in there. For lunch will be gluten-free mushroom fajitas. So on my grocery list, I am going to put the mushrooms, the peppers, maybe some cashews I need to purchase so that I can make the ranch sauce. Or if you just have ranch, you can just make the ranch or just get the ranch from the store. And then the gluten-free wraps. I already have my fajita seasoning pre-made. I already have my taco seasoning made up already. So these are just things and a little idea, a little walkthrough of how I would menu plan. The next thing I have here for dinner is garlic knots. I do have a recipe for garlic knots in my recipe book, and I make it by hand, but you can easily just go to the store and get it yourself. I like to add personal touches. This is, again, just something that I like to do to go the extra mile. I like to make most things by hand. So I like adding that personal touch to my garlic knots. It's handmade by me, and I control the ingredients that's inside of it, and it just makes me feel better. That's just how I do it. You don't have to do it that way. But for appetizers, it's garlic knots and salad. And then the main dish will be homemade pizza. I would already have the dough pre-made, and that's a part of meal prepping. The dough's already made, flatten it out, put the sauce on, put the toppings on, throw it in the oven. It really doesn't take long as you have effectively planned what you're going to do, and as long as you are organized with how your days are going to go. Nothing has to be perfect, but you define what's perfect for you. For snacks, it's nuts or bananas. And then for dessert, we'll have a parfait with that. And I'll serve it in parfait glasses, and it'll be yogurt inside. It'll be chopped strawberries, chopped blueberries on top, and then topped with granola and then Cool Whip on top. So that is a way to have that extra mildness going on. So when you present it, you'll have, or I would have, the garlic knots in a basket. I would have the salad already there and tossed, dressing inside of it, tomatoes or anything else that my family likes for in the salad. I would also have my homemade pizza on the side, already cut up in the 8 slices, so that they can just get it and put it on their plate. And it's easier for them, and it's easier for me too to have them get it so they can control the portions that they would like. And then of course, for dessert, the parfait will already be prepared. This is how I do it, and this is that little tip on going the extra mile for your family. After you have done everything, of course, you're using your recipe book, you're using recipes from whatever cookbooks that you have. After you do that, it's really easy to put it together. Get your inspiration from Pinterest. Even if you don't create a board, remember just going into that link of what you like, looking at the recipe, printing it off. When you're making the grocery shopping list, let's say like for me, I know that I'm having a particular smoothie. I'm going to write on my grocery shopping list the frozen fruits that I need if I already don't have it. For my garlic knots, for example, I am going to need yeast. If I'm out of yeast, I would write that on here. And the only way that I really know what I need is by looking at the recipe card. I'll give you an example and I'll show you how a recipe card looks. This is a breakfast recipe, and this is the fruit and cream cheese breakfast pastries. This is how a recipe card looks for me. The ingredients that's on here, I know that those are ingredients that I would have to pick up from the store, and ingredients that I would put into my grocery shopping list here. So it's so easy when you have a recipe book printed out. I am an analog woman stuck in a digital reality, so I prefer to look up the recipe and print it out so that I can have this book, something that I can pass down to my children for generations to come. I can preserve it, and they know everything that I liked to made it even Now, after everything is done, after I have created the recipes on here, everything is done, I will type this list up in a Word document. Sometimes I do use Excel also. Typing this list up is so beneficial for me. I print out 2 copies. One copy I send to my husband to work so that he knows what to look forward to for dinner and even for lunchtime, and especially dessert because he loves dessert. And then the other copy I keep right on my fridge, and it helps me obviously keep a good task on what we're having and how to prepare each dish and how to get ready for the next day. Every now and then I will put it inside of my control journal, which I showed you before in the beginning. There's a whole tab for recipes and a whole tab for what we're going to be having. Sometimes I just leave it right on the fridge. It's a little bit easier for me. What else do I want to go over? Staying within budget is so important. And as long as you have the budget price that you're willing to stay into, you can achieve a good budget for your family. If you know that your budget is only $150 per month, you can make that work. What you can do is check out your local ads. Every market usually has their ads online. I do a lot of shopping at Publix and Trader Joe's. Publix is a supermarket I know in just some areas, and Trader Joe's is a little bit more expansive than Publix, I think. But I do Publix and Trader Joe's. I am able to look on Publix weekly ads for their BOGOs and look at what they have on sale, or I'm able to just see what deals they have for that day. Sometimes it's not really a big sale. Sometimes it's just a deal on what they're offering, depending on their recipe cards. And that's another thing I want to mention. Publix has recipe cards called Apron. It is a service that is only available at Publix, but it is online for you to check out. Apron is something that I use every now and then for those days that I'm not sure what to do. This is how an Apron recipe card looks. It has a picture of the dish, which I love because I use those pictures for plating inspirations. It actually pairs everything together for you. It tells you exactly what you should be eating with the dish. It has the whole shopping list, so it's so easy to add to your grocery list. It says here, this is grilled sausage salad with berry peach cobbler. Complete your meal with steamed veggies, crusty bread, and lemonade. And then it tells you how to bake the cobbler. On the back is a recipe for the grilled sausage salad and the peach cobbler. And then it's offered in Spanish too. So I love these Publix recipe cards. I get them offline, or you can actually go into the Publix store and get it for free. Their website is Publix.com, which is Publix.com/apron. Or aprons, I'm sorry, it's plural, like the apron that you wear, it's aprons. And you'll be able to find all of their recipes on there. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please let me know inside of the comments, or visit my website, thefascinatingwife.com, where you can ask me any question that you want on the contact page. Videos like this will be available, and topics like this will be talked about during my course, The Fascinating Womanhood with the Fascinating Wife. That is a course that I have available, and registration is open now. I'm so excited because meal planning and being a domestic goddess is something that is talked about in the course, and I am so thrilled to share that with you guys. You can visit my website, again, thefascinatingwife.com, for more information under the tab of classes. If you have any comments about meal planning and a little bit more questions, I will be very glad to answer them. I will be coming out with more videos this week on the topic of meal planning. So hold tight for some of the things that you have questions about that you know I'm going to make videos for. Videos are going to be how to build your recipe binder, plating techniques and how to serve your food to go that extra mile for your family, and how to save money with grocery shopping. Those are the other videos that I will be talking about. The last video that I definitely want to be making for this week is how to balance your family's meals throughout the week. Again, it's so hard sometimes to balance your family's meal when you have one person who wants to eat this way and another person who wants to eat that way. Coming in the middle is the best thing to do. Since you are the nutritionist for your home, you control the health of your family and what they're consuming. So just keep that in mind. Okay, and I think that's it. That's all that I have really to talk to you about today. Again, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can hit the description box below or comment. Thank you. Have a great day.